And we are live. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, and welcome to another scene for the living world of darkness, Rage Across New York. And in this scene, 10 Point has accounted for things like the schedules set by the den parents when they do various trainings, when they do various classes, and during one of those periods of recess where the cubs can be taken under the wings of other guru, perhaps left to nap, left to practice, left to get up to their antics as cubs are wont to do. Good old Deer Bay here has swooped in and kidnapped Fox Babby and has brought her off, leading the cub to the shrine of Stag and the Hind, because, it's a nice place. And so it is there, likely in the Umbra for ease, and to in part to acclimate the cub to the various active spirits and whatnot, and the presence of shrines and the slightly uncanny presence that they may have at times when the totem is near. Has brought her out and come around and tucked herself down on the frost-lined grass with not over much mind to the cold. She's keeping to breed form both for warmth and as well to accustomize the cub to that, because it simply will not do to have her scampering off on the field when people are taking the appropriate forms. That is a no-no. So the keeper of the land, this Metis, will hunker herself down in the grass and generally have an open posture about her, welcoming Helena to get as close as she would like, if only for the sake of shared warmth. After all, she does not look especially cold. And, yeah, she will hunker down and spare a glance up to Helena to see how she adjusts.
So, fucking throat. So, she takes a seat, not like just in front of where 10 Point's lying. She herself doesn't look overly cold. It's quite odd, in fact. But now that they're in the room with that long flowing red hair is kind of over one shoulder, she's just idly pulling at it a little bit. It's that still getting used to such a vast change as such. She sits there cross-legged, just almost humming to herself. She just looks at 10 Point, a smile across her face, and she seems peaceful enough.
It helps if my mic is on. So yeah, once she has settled down, 10 Point will turn her big ol' heavy head, and Helena does have a reasonable amount of animal kin, yes?
Sorry, what was that?
Helena does have a reasonable amount of animal kin.
Animal Chem 3.
Okay, fabulous. Then yeah, she'll be able to tell that as much as this is obviously a massive war form, the overall body posture, the expression, the tilt of the ears, the looseness of the muscles and whatnot, it's very much at ease, regardless of being big enough to literally bite, her head and her shoulder away. And yeah, so she'll turn her big heavy head around and give her a proper side eye glance, because when one has a muzzle, they do not look at things head on. And we'll say, in the high tongue, as this is another thing she will have to acclimate to, today we are going to talk about Gaia and Luna and the Triad. But first, do you have questions? Things that you wonder about or need clarification on?
She sits there for a minute, clearly, processing this, thinking. And she eventually turns and looks back at 10 Point. I don't think so. I can't remember. I answered a few this morning, though.
Good. Very good. Then there are no more that you need clarification on before I move into this.
I'm sure when you move into this, there's going to be more coming up.
And much like with a human, there's a certain amount of seeing a smile in her eyes, regardless of the fact that one doesn't especially smile in the canid forms. There's a slight gape of the mouth in amusement, but not a smile per se. That would be snarling and inappropriate.
I won't be doing that.
Hmm?
Don't want to be doing that.
Yup.
You.
So she'll take a moment to look a bit amused by how frank she is about it. But, very quickly nods. All right then, Anrai. You know of Gaia?
I'll make a roll because I can. Because it's fun for me.
Oh, well then.
Okay. She nods. Yeah, I had a chat with Aiden this morning.
The big head gives a light tilt. The ears prick a little bit more forward. She's not like full stand alert, but definitely interested. Did you?
Yeah, I thought he would have told you.
Myra does not tell me everything.
No, I was down by the lake, just getting some air, I guess. And yeah, he was there too. So
He does like the lake.
it's a nice lake. It's peaceful.
The big head gives a bob in agreement. And one of her big paw, it's kind of a in between state, but the pad's kind of pressed to the ground, splaying in the still fairly frost nipped grass. Then you know that Gaia is the mother, and it is Gaia who created us, and it is Gaia who created the triad, and that we are her teeth and her claws, whatever else we may be, as dictated by Luna.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Along those lines. She's the every breath, all the energy in the earth, and all that.
That's a hefty nod. One might dare say an approving nod. Yes, very good. And Luna, she next gives a vague upward gesture. She doesn't like go into a grandiose thing. Luna, in a way, is also a mother. Because it may be Gaia's will that makes us, but it is Luna who calls out to us and stirs the rage in our bellies, and gives us a purpose, gives us a place in the nation.
All right. Yeah. Okay. And hmm, the other thing.
The triad?
Yeah. Yeah. That.
And she'll begin with one big curved talon of a claw to very delicately draw out a well, more of a Triskelion than a triangle. It's still a three-branched icon that she scratches very lightly into the dirt. The triad, were all as it was meant to be, would be a perfect balance, a functioning whole. And she'll set her talon by the first curve of the Triskelion. There is the wild. The wild creates. The wild is pure, beautiful, creative chaos. And like most beautiful things, it can also be very dangerous. But it is the force of constant, blissful, mindless creation. and she'll then swerve the claw around towards the next third of the Triskelion, essentially creating a third of a circular design. The second branch is the Weaver. And what the wild makes, the Weaver gives a purpose and gives order. The Weaver is what tells a fish to swim. The Weaver is what tells humans to create, to use tools. The Weaver is what tells a goose where to fly. So everything that the wild makes, the Weaver gives a purpose and gives a place. And she then swerves around to the third, by now creating 2/3 of a circle about the Triskelion. And then there's the worm. And as it is intended, the worm is simply the end. It is the destruction of all that is made. It is part of the cycle. And when it was healthy, the worm did its duty. And it meted out death as it was needed to create all imbalance so that the wild, and she finally closes the circle, swerving back around, could again create. This is how it is meant to be. But this is not how it is. Do you understand so far?
Yeah. So if that's how it's meant to be, why isn't it like that?
And there's something of an awkward expression. One might say almost kind of a pained one, really, as she brings her finger over and instead of like tapping a claw delicately to one side, she actually kind of mashes the paw pad into the curl of the Triskelion. The Weaver saw all of the things that she worked so hard on, that she gave such great purpose to, destroyed. And for whatever reason, she could not bear it and went mad. And so instead of doing her duty and continuing to give purpose to each new thing that came, she decided that she wished to stop the destruction, to put order even on the Triad itself. And so she cast her webs on the worm, and she bound him tightly so that he could not do his own duty to the Triad and to Gaia. And she must have thought herself clever, but in the end, being bound, being unable to do what he was meant to do, the worm too sank into madness and became more powerful, more destructive. And now the worm is what we fight, because the worm does not simply destroy what must be destroyed. He does not simply pave the way for the future. The worm corrupts, and he spreads, and he taints, and left unchecked, would destroy even Gaia herself.
Oh, okay. That's something.
And so the spider weaves her webs on and on, trying to set order to everything. The great serpent, he reaches out, tries always to spread his reach further and further, to spread the taint, to spread the chaos.
He
And
said,
meanwhile,
"Spider,
I did.
are we?" She can see her expression changes from the kind of half smile. She drops her long, like flowing hair at this point down, and she starts just kind of rubbing the side of her neck a bit and scratching on one of her arms. As in large, grey, silver-ish things.
There's a vague tilt of head. The ears do finally prick fully forward, paying close attention to the slight ticks and the motions. And 10 Point will heave herself up from her more lounging posture into a sit, and for the sake of the cub, will gesture out. Because while Central Park is very big for a park, it is very, very small for a wooded area. And looking in the right direction, one can easily see the skyscrapers. And being as this is the Umbra, while the park itself is impossibly lush and just full of foliage in the Umbra, it is very much alive. The city beyond, by contrast, is almost monochromatic and dull and gray. And when one looks out over the skyscrapers, they can see the strands of, like, think like dusty cobwebs. That's not as orderly as a fresh web. It's something that's been strung between the buildings, wrapping around them. Some of the strands have broken or stretched and fallen, but it's definitely very visible here in the Umbra.
Oh.
The Weaver.
Oh. That, ex- that explains a lot.
Did you see the spirits of the Weaver?
She very shakily nods.
And there's a pause and another thoughtful, very slight tilt of head. Did you become stuck in the weave?
Oh, what do you mean, stuck in the weave?
You have learned how to cross, how to look into your reflection and push through the gauntlet. But especially with Hamid cubs, such as yourself, it is very easy to become stuck in the webs as you try to cross. Humankind has a very weak connection to Gaia. It makes it much harder.
No, I don't think so. Maybe. All I remember is the fox. He saved me.
From spiders.
I couldn't see anything, but I could feel it. Webs trying to close me in. I don't do tight spaces.
And there she'll finally give a nod of understanding. Then yes, you were inside the city, I assume, when this started.
Mm-hmm.
Cities. Lupus will call them scars, because they are, in a way, scars on Gaia's back. And she points out again to the city. They are a place of the Weaver. The Weaver likes the phones, the electricity, the computers. That is her playground. And humankind are her fondest children. Where there are humans, there is usually a much higher presence of the Weaver.
Oh. Yeah, okay.
But yes, spiders.
Hmm.
Sometimes ones that look like machines. Sometimes ones that simply look like spiders. They are the Weaver's children.
Mm-hmm.
Now you remember what I said, is that you can trust a spirit to do as it is meant to do, yes?
Yeah.
There are those who will tell you that the Weaver is evil. But the Weaver is mad and doing what she is meant to do without cessation. And her children, they do only as they are meant to do. Some attend to the gauntlet and strengthen it, making it harder for us to pass. Some fly about with messages, with information. Some watch, some fight, but they all do only as they are meant to do. Do not be afraid of them simply because they are of the Weaver. No more than you would be afraid of something simply because it was of the wild.
So, these spirits of the Weaver, they're all just lost their way then, I guess.
It is hard to say. The spirits of the Weaver do as they do. They do not feel lost, but their mother is lost, and she is the one who gives them a purpose.
Right.
And she is order where the wild is chaos.
Yeah, right. Okay, I'm with you. Yeah.
A good example is that I find that the Weaver spirits become very hostile if I am not in my breed form, because it is unnatural and it is not orderly. They want me to be as I am meant to be, and nothing else, not pretending, not feigning.
Oh,
And they will usually become more peaceful if I am as I am meant to be.
that's interesting.
They make sense in their own way.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. It's just weird.
She again takes on a faint look of amusement. Most spirits are weird, you'll find. They all
Yeah.
have a very particular way of thinking. They all have a very particular purpose and things that simply will come naturally and make sense to them. I have seen Weaver spirits placated with telephones, with promises of, she kind of tilts her head, files of games, like actual games and on the phone and things. Meanwhile, the wild is placated best with wild action.
So, like, I'm probably wrong, but so Weaver is cities and that kind of stuff. Wild, I'm assuming, is, well, the wild, right?
She gives a nod. The further you go from the cities, the more you will see of the wild. It is rarer in these days, with humans being everywhere, but there are still pockets of it.
Hmm.
It is important to learn how to distinguish them. Wild spirits are harder to define than Weaver. They can be a number of things, but those things will always be sporadic seeming.
Right. Yeah. Natural order of chaos, right?
There's a vague tilt of head and almost a brief, kind of perplexed twitch of the ears in two opposite angles. But she finally heaves a heavy shrug and nods.
What? It's
What was that?
like, she just kind of question, like, what?
Essentially, yes.
But not exactly.
The wild is hard to define. By its very nature. So, yes.
All right, I get that. That's pretty, I guess, self-explanatory then.
There's another nod. The only spirits with which we do not broker deals are spirits of the worm. And spirits of the worm are easy to recognize. The touch of the worm, since it has become twisted and corrupted, means that it twists and corrupts everything that it comes into contact with. Things of the worm will be wrong in a very tangible way. Whether they ooze acid or chemicals or oils, their bodies will be twisted and deformed. They are the monsters. And usually very easy to identify, though not always. But anything that is of the worm will try to twist and try to corrupt or try to harm and kill. They will never have good intentions or pure intentions.
Okay.
And the most merciful thing that can be done with worm-tainted spirits is to send them back into the cycle.
Send them back. Oh. Right. Yeah.
It is a very literal cycle. I know it seems like some human metaphor. They seem to believe that it is a nice way of putting it. But spirits are very rarely forever gone and completely destroyed. It is very, very difficult to do. When one kills a spirit, you reduce them to essence, and that essence goes back into the deeper parts of the Umbra. And sooner or later, they are reborn. This is why rites like the Prayer for the Prey are important. They set the spirit at ease and at peace, so that it can cycle more quickly, more efficiently. And we can hope that a worm-tainted spirit, once it has been sent back, will be born again properly and will come back new.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's like, kind of warming, I guess. Just running around murdering everything.
I'm gonna peony the shit out of you.
Oh damn. Oh damn.
I don't know how good it's gonna work, because it's not my strongest pull, but I'm gonna do it.
I'm gonna do it. What's she looking for?
She's very closely watching her expression. It's only 2 successes. But particularly at the bit about murdering things, trying to read whatever undertone is going on there.
Yeah. So as she says that you look closely into her expressions, so she's not too on board with just murdering things. From what you can tell, she's especially with recent like the confidence she's been shown. Like she's kind of clicked onto a few things, but this whole being a essential murder machine in Krynos and all that, that's still not exactly sunk in, and she's not like, too fond of that idea.
It is not everything that you have been taught to kill. That's a poor way of phrasing it. Keep in
No.
mind, think, perhaps, it is easier for the lupus born, because they have spent their lives killing to survive. But humans, you very rarely have to kill for your food. It is natural. We are not killing for sport. We kill to survive. We kill to ensure survival. Have you heard the lesson of what happens if, in a place, the predators are removed and the prey are left to multiply and multiply and multiply?
Yeah, no, I know that. It's what's it called? Yeah, I know what it is. I studied it a lot.
Too much of it, there's a natural cycle, and in the case of the worm, it is the only way to eradicate it so that it cannot do even more killing on its own.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I had a similar conversation with Aiden this morning.
She nods approval. And strangely enough, just kind of resolves that and kind of goes to move on, as if having every confidence that whatever he has said is enough. Good. Then Gaia, Luna, the Triad. I have shown you how to make deals with spirits. I have seen you make deals of your own, which is good. You know now what the gauntlet is. You have crossed back and forth. You understand that this place is a reflection of the Tellurian. She kind of turns her head towards the city again. An important thing is to remember that not all in the Tellurian is reflected here. Some things have not been for long enough. Some things are not awake. So not all that you see in the Tellurian will be something that you can interact with on this side. Have you learned to look before you leap?
I have a feeling that means more than just the expression, right?
Not so much. We'll close this lesson with this. Much as you can look into your reflection, look into your eyes, and fall through and shift through the gauntlet, before you do that, you can look. You can take the time to look into the surface, to look into your gaze, and to look through it onto this side or onto the other from here. And it is often wise to do so before stepping across. It is good to know if there are evil spirits, if there are malevolent or benevolent spirits that might await you on this side, or to know if there are humans on the other who might see you as you simply appear.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
I want you to take the time today, when you go back across, to first look and to properly look around, to get comfortable with it. Yes?
Yeah. Yeah, I will.
She nods. Later I will be showing Colin and Kailani to the shrine you have made, so that they can bring offerings of their own. Would you like to be there?
I mean, it'd be nice.
And again, there's kind of that just that little shift of muscle around the eyes that kind of puts a smile there, regardless of how it doesn't ride on her muzzle. Then you will be. But for now, go write down the things you have learned so that you do not forget.
Yeah, I will. Okay.
Think about it. Come back to me with questions.
Don't worry. I will.
And at that point, she'll kind of give her the kind of on with you little gesture. Then do as you like until the damn parents call you again.
With that, she'll stand up, pulling her hair back over her shoulder, and she starts walking, almost finding that spot. She's finding like happy places, so to say. But she'll sit and she'll continue writing everything that she's just learned.
And with that, I think, in 10 point, we'll watch her wander off. And we'll take a moment to, just for funsies, wink at the little raven that she knows damn well is following this cub. And I think with that, we can say thank you, players, for playing, and watchers for watching. And we will see you next time on the Living World of Darkness, Rage Across New York.